Welcome to Kickstarter Radio 102.4. This is our podcast radio show broadcast number 15. A big welcome if you're from YouTube and also from the podcast listeners. Now, if you're on YouTube, you're listening to the edited version with all the music cut out, but here's a preview of what the music will be in today's show. We're going to start off with a classic song from Norway, Maragaret Berger with I Feed You My Love. What a classic. Through the dark night. Then we're going to be moving on to Germany. A song from Cascada called Glorious. Just listen to her voice.
Do you know it's time to let yourself go?
Then we're going to move on to Conchita Wurst from Austria, who did an amazing song, Rise Like a Phoenix, a classic that too.
Waking in the rubble.
Then we're going to Malta for the next, band called Firelight, an amazing kind of feel-good song.
Freedom of life, I will express my soul.
Oh, sounds so good. And we're finally, from that era, going from the Ukraine with Mariya Yaremchuk called TikTok. This is one of my favourites from 2014. And then we're going to Israel with Nadav Guedj with Golden Boy.
Someone broke my heart again.
And we're going to end up with my favourite song from 2015, Jamala from the Ukraine with her song 1944, which actually won the contest.
This is Case 102.4.
Oh, amazing songs there. Treat yourself, listen to the podcast if you've not listened to it. You'll love all the music, trust me. Yeah, anyway, what else have we got coming? We, of course, are going to be looking at Kickstarter games that are live on Kickstarter. We're going to be looking at Encyclopedia from Holy Grail Games that are really in the Premier League of French. You know, the Premier League of Kickstarter companies. They're from France, yeah. Awesome sauce, great worker placement game. Then we're going to be looking at Pericle, Gathering Darkness. This is a tabletop RPG with an app looking very, very special indeed. Then we're going to a big disappointment of the week, Darkest Doom, which has actually got some controversy, which I'll let you know about. Then Dead by Daylight, the board game, which is looking like the laziest IP game I've ever seen. Yeah. And then Splash and Spells, which could get the Kickstarter of the week due to its amazing conceptual fighting arena type game with so much to be going on in that. And yeah. And in the media chat, I'll be talking about the Moonfall movie, which I saw, which I really love. Yeah, really love that, so look out for that at the end of the show. If you're on YouTube, there are show notes, of course, below to check out if you want to jump between different things and all that good sauce. But before we get on to talking about Encyclopedia, we're going to hear this absolute belter from Maragaret Berger. I Feed You My Love. Oh, what a voice Margaret's got. And I'll tell you what, Eurovision is great for bringing out the divas across Europe. Absolutely stunning. Love it. Alright, let's be looking at Encyclopedia, this DICE worker placement game. Oh, it's a labour of love from the designers of the museum game, the set collection game. This is looking very, very swish. The Kickstarter has a lot of really cool exclusives as well for Kickstarters, which will change up the game, make it a little bit more unpredictable, more chaos that is happening in there too. And they've got it's really a happy campaign actually. They've been absolutely astounded by how much it's picked up. They think 2,000 backers is like a massive milestone for them, and it fired past 2,000. It's going up there towards 4,000. They've been blown away by the international community backing this as well, so they've kind of made the international shipping cheaper, which is absolutely amazing. And this company truly is in the Premier League of Kickstarter, because what they do for the backers is tremendous. And they're doing the kind of theme at the minute, which is just to drop monetary stretch goals. And they are thinking about doing stuff during the campaign. So if it does get larger, expect some new stuff to come out with Encyclopedia. However, they really want one of their priorities is to get the game out this year. So they can't do anything lofty per se. But I think that the additional stuff that they're going, and they kind of released a nice card for April Fool's Day, which was really nice. But if you like worker placements, you like dice worker placements, I think you will really love this. It's got like the cool dynamic of the players around the table can take dice from you, and it has that amazing trend on Kickstarter where you can put the solo player AI into your multiplayer game. So if you've got 2 or 3 players, you can put an AI on the table, and that's absolutely fantastic when that happens. And really, like when you're playing a worker placement and you've got an AI on the table along with people around the table, they're always fascinated that the game has this mechanic, and it truly is a modern version of worker placements. And I think most Kickstarters, if they don't show this with their worker placement, it's a sad thing to happen. But Encyclopedia pushing the boundaries and the the Art Nouveau of what we expect of work placements, and it's looking beautiful. The art as well across the whole board, and all the animals on it, because you are collecting animals to record in this pre-Darwin era of collecting animals for research, and it certainly looks the ticket, I'll tell you now. And it's potentially going to go into the runnings for best Kickstarter of the year under $100, because this is definitely at a beautiful price point. So please check out our video, Encyclopedia, on our Kickstarter page, and I'm sure you will fall in love just the way I did. And the game, trust me, if you like worker placements, it's insta-bag, because I love what I see on that Kickstarter, and I can't wait to get that into my collection, because sitting next to Museum whenever the special edition box delivers, yeah, it's very late, isn't everything, but I think it would be perfect next to Museum. I really do. And yeah, I think if you like work placements, do you owe yourself to at least check this Kickstarter out? I think you do, indeed. Alright, we're going to a little bit of pop from Germany now, from 2013, called Glorious. This is Cascada. I remember when she sang this on the Eurovision night, she was so nervous, and it was like watching a horse in horse racing, and when they fall at a jump, because she completely fecked it up when she was singing. Oh man, she could have won the contest with this song, but oh man, her voice just wasn't great, so sadly. But this is a pre-recorded track from her in the studio, and she belts it out here. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, here's Glorious from Cascada. Oh, and after this song, let me get in. We're going to be looking at the great RPG Pericle. You don't want to miss this. Anyway, take it away. Take it away, Cascada. Man, if your ears are ringing, that is because you just heard some classic Europop. That's kind of what it can do to you, but some classic Europop. They're from Germany. Alright, Pericle, are you ready for a massive 100-hour campaign? Oh, there's a lot of these around, isn't there? Yeah, but there's a lot going on here. Well, first of all, you get 75 standees that you can populate all your RPGs with. Yeah. Next, you're getting like 30 plus boards to put down for your RPGs, not just this one. So even without the app, it's a fantastic deal for like $100 to get all these standees and get all these different boards. Yeah. But the app has got loads of things going on, including this giant campaign, which is like 4 big chapters like 25 hours each in an overarching story that's linking all of them together in a big epic saga. It's looking absolutely delicious, and as the campaign's growing, they're starting to reveal stuff, because at the minute it's almost 9 roleplay, 1 board game. Although you've got the app, so let's go 8 roleplay, 1 app, 1 board game, because you've got that roleplay piece of paper where you're writing down your prehistory of your character and you're writing stuff down about what you've done and things like this. But they have got an add-on. If you're a mage or a healer, you can get a spell deck, and the spell deck is massive. It's like over 100 cards for all the spells, so you can have them together. They have recently revealed another deck for the melee people, so it looks like all of your abilities are going to get cards. These are add-ons though, which are putting the pledge up of $100, but I think to push it more into a board game, I think this is necessary. And because you want to feel like you've got more than a piece of paper, you want to feel like character of all these nice things that you've got around you. You've got a spell deck of cards and all that stuff. I think that is great where they're going. So what they're kind of adding to the campaign is adding it more, pushing it towards a board game. But I still think out of all the board games out there, this is definitely the one leaning most heavily into role plays. But it is doing the app though, and the app is going to have cinematics as well, which is really neat. Music probably. I don't think it's going to be voice acted due to the level of the campaign, but we don't know. It might get some support in the future. Who knows? I mean, we don't know how many words have been written, but if it's 100 hours, it potentially could go up towards, 300,000 words maybe for these massive campaigns. Just huge, aren't they? So if you like role plays, you've got role play books on your shelf, or you're thinking about backing some, for example. There's Kickstarters out there that are offering role plays like Tenaris RPG. We've got the Title Blades RPG. Well, do you want to put more standees in those games? And have you got boards for all of the areas that you're role playing in? Probably not. And I think Pericle here is going to have amazing utility for future RPGs, or the ones that you may be backing or have on your shelf. So I think Pericle looks like an easy back, not just because it's giving you an amazing experience, but it's giving you a massive playset to use in your other games. And that for me is a double win. And Pericle, have a look at it. It is looking really, really sweet, and it's definitely one huge dice chucker and all that good stuff. So yeah, Pericle looking like an awesome fantasy RPG, looking super sweet. Oh, it's going to get into the misery land, isn't it, next, when we're talking about Darkest Doom? Well, I think you might be entertained to hear about a little bit of controversy. Plagiarism? Question mark on Darkest Doom? We'll find out after the next song, which is Conchita Wurst from Austria. The less I tell you about this singer, the better, because just appreciate the song for what it is. This is Rise Like a Phoenix.
This is Case 102.4.
If you don't know, Conchita Wurst, it's basically Miss Sausage. It's a guy dressed up as a woman singing with a beard. So it's not obvious. So it is obvious. It's kind of weird that this singer was in front of 500 million people watching the show. Anyway, great song. Rise from a Phoenix from a chick, a dude in a dress. There you go. All right. Darkest Doom. All of the people that were previewing this were talking about how good the lore is. Well, not in the game, it's not. You've got all these boring quests. They're not even quests. Put character on this part of the map. It's like pick up and deliver, but you're delivering yourself. Go to point A. Boring, boring, boring. I mean, you couldn't make it up how boring it is. And one of my viewers mentioned that this is potentially a copy, plagiarism he's calling it, from another Kickstarter, which is a video game, and the video game is of a board game. Are you interested to know what it is? What I'm talking about? Gaming with Gears. It's basically a physical version of the Mellow digital board game. He says the game designer is supposedly a fan of the digital game, yet they disregard the similarities and any influence that they received from Mellow. And he says, so in my opinion, it's a pretty clear case of plagiarism. Oh, it's getting juicy, isn't it? I've actually contacted Mellow, who the digital board game devs, to ask them about this. So we'll see if this story gets any meat on the bone. But the digital board game, like Darkest Doom, it's like an open world where you need to go to the centre of the map to climb up the mountain to defeat the boss to win the game. And there's multiple ways of, getting better, I guess. But there's definitely no role play here. You're an anthropologic animal, which is one of the other plagiarisms. You're like the exact animals from this video game. The exact animals. Of all the animals they could have picked, like a character who is a rat. Like, that's no coincidence. Would you pick a rat? You got to scratch your head at that. I mean, there's something's going on here. There's definitely potential IP copy, I think. There's too many similarities. And I do agree with Game of Gear about this, but... But I mean, anyway, why would you be back in this game? It's like, there's so many adventure games out there where you can level up so much better. The cards you're picking up are mainly use once items, and your playboards are so boring. Like, you pick up a quest, go to a part on a map. That's your quest. You go there, you decide what attribute you want to gain, and if you roll a dice and get it, you push a cube up to get +1 on strength. How exciting! I would... No quest to say, if you defeat this guy, you can take his helmet. That'll give you ++ strength. Or take his gauntlets off it. Or his, I don't know. I think getting equipment that gives you those attribute upgrades is so more interesting than just push a cube. That's where I kind of feel like it's less role play on the board game. So... yeah, it's a little bit dry. I called it devoid of fun because I think if you watch playthroughs, especially the Dice Tower playthrough, Tom Vassell was like bored out of his pants, in my opinion. He was not interested in this game, and it looks like a game that if you played it once, you might not go back a second time because... do you feel like there's replayability with what the stuff you're doing is as boring as watching paint dry? Anyway, that's Darkest Doom. You can watch my full video of comments about that, but that wasn't the worst video of the week for me. The worst one was Dead by Daylight, the board game, which I'll be talking about next. But before we go there, let's give a nice, cuddly, nice feeling song. Coming from Malta, from the band Firelight, with a song called Coming Home. And this is just, if you're ever depressed, have a listen to this song. It will cheer you up big time. So here it is, Coming Home. Now then, just want to say big thank you to all the new subscribers that we got actually in March, and hopefully you can help spread the word, especially of our podcast, as our numbers are actually as popular as our videos on YouTube. So if you know anyone in your play groups that wants to have an entertaining radio show, hint hint, just tell them you're enjoying the good crack on our broadcast show. And we do it each week, only exclusively if we do things on the channel, as it's a bit of a good reminder and a good one-stop shop and something to listen to while you're out and about, I guess. Right, let's crack on. Dead by Daylight, the board game. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, this game is criminal on what it's doing. I don't know why it's got 4,000 backers. I mean, I must be so hard to please. Am I a perfectionist? I think I am. But talk about low standards. The board is the biggest blurring thing at the minute. I think they are trying to work on it. It looks like Windows 95. In fact, the places on the board, you could just get cards to put them on the board. You don't need the different types of board. You just need a deck of cards to change them. They're that small. obvious thing would to go is to do hexes on the board, you know, like Fantasy Flight have done with the 3rd edition of Arkham Horror. But anyway, it's a three. You need 3 players, right? That's upsetting a lot of people, especially my viewers' comments have been saying this. Yeah. So why don't they have a solo mode? It's a bit daft, isn't it? And you know, because if you're playing 2-player, you can play the AI then, can't you? Also, if you play 2-player, so it's daft. You know, is it so difficult for them to do a solo player? And, you know, when a game comes out and it doesn't have a solo mode, you've got to question how much are they spending on the project. They claim they were testing the game for 8 months, but, you know, it's like 8 months is just a period of time. Like, how much we are doing once a week, once a fortnight? You know, it's not intense, is it? Because the game does look pretty simple. The art across the board looks so fan-made. Like you've copied and pasted it from the game and just photoshopped it on a card, whoopee-doo, and have that it'll do attitude. You know, the IP is just the name. The video game isn't that popular anyway. I mean, this is just a cash grab. It's, for me, it seems like it's cheapest chips to make and they've just scrabbled it together for a quick profit. I mean, there's no love for the IP on this. 0. You know, they couldn't even be bothered to try to even get the licensed killers that they have in the video game. Because if you're buying the IP, you should be buying all the properties of the IP. But, yeah, it's really strange. Because even on the player boards, especially the killer boards, you've not got any unique art of the special abilities of the heroes doing stuff. It's just a generic icon that's as small as a postage stamp, the icon. So it's like so disappointing. And they're doing a massive coffin box as well if you get the big edition, which just scratches my head because coffin boxes are pretty much a thing of the past. If you look at the title blades, for example, the incredible updates that they do on that, you know, James Hudson, the one of the devs there, he said that people were asking for coffin like the first game, but it makes no sense because it's really awkward, you know. People got calyx shelves, you know. You've only got so much space on the top of your calyx shelf, and the top of your calyx shelf should be the creme de la creme, and I don't think you're going to put this up there with the creme de la creme. It's like putting dog poo next to your bloody epic games you've got up there. Anyway, Dead by Daylight. Dead by its ambition, which is minus 50. Yeah. I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole, to be honest. It just looks terrible. Really does. Anyway, we're going to have a better game next. Slash and Spells we're talking about, which is a hidden gem on Kickstarter. Nobody's even looking at this, it looks like, but hopefully it'll make a... hopefully it will get past its what it needs to get successful, because it's not reaching its goal yet, Slash and Spells. We'll talk about that next. Anyhow, we're moving into 2015 now with Eurovision, and we're listening to Nadav Guedj from Israel. I'm butchering some of these names, but hey, I'm not very good with my... what's the Israeli word? Hebrew? There we go. My Hebrew's not up there. What can I say? Anyway, it's called Golden Boy. It's a bit of a builder, this, but once it gets going, it's an absolute belter. Well, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Indeed. Everyone at the station, thanks all our viewers of the podcast. We hope, you know, it's broadcast 15. It's we're learning as we go, and hopefully it gets better and better, but we'll see. Anyhow, Slash and Spells, woohoo! It's a skirmish game, but it's a lot more interesting than that. Yeah, it's skirmish PvP, but your characters have skills that beautiful skill sheet on your skill board. You can't level them all up. In fact, you're probably only going to get experience to get your ultimate on one of the paths. So, which means that when you start off this skirmish, you are more interested in going around the map and doing stuff to level up. It's a bit like when you play Dota 2 or League of Legends, you might want to level up your hero in the jungle first. Well, this really pushes you into the jungle where you want to avoid the players and go into doing stuff around the board, and that makes it really, really interesting. Plus there's like loads of items that you can pick up, so you can like level up your character's equipment and get potions and stuff like this. Really, really nice. And the game also has wonderful acrylic standees, so it looks absolutely charming as well. I really, really think this game has a shelf space because it looks really cool. It's under $100. I think it's going to go in the shortlisting, similar to Encyclopedia for under $100 games. But I think Encyclopedia is going to swing my Kickstarter of the week. Although Slash and Spells might become a Kickstarter of the week because it's still got time to stretch it out. Stretch goals look interesting on the campaign. And it's doing these weird hydrofoil cards as well if you back it, which is like alternate art for the cards and making them shiny. But if you like PvP games, or you've not got a PvP game on your shelf, this one's PvE to PvP, because again, you're not going to want to fight each other as level 1 heroes. You're going to definitely want to focus on leveling up, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. The art across the board is wonderful, and I think it deserves your attention to go and have a look at it and see if you think it looks as good as I think it does, because for me it looks fantastic. I think the only disappointment at the minute is the shipping looks so expensive to Mexico, so I might have to wait for this to hit retail, which is, you know, one of those things. In fact, that's the good thing about Encyclopedia, is the worldwide shipping on it got really cheap, which, you know, was great. And all these other games, their shipping seems to be expensive here to Mexico. And actually, quick talk about Pericle, the shipping into Mexico on that's also fantastic too. So it's really weird between these companies, you know, how some don't do shipping well and some do better. It's like, it's almost like rolling a dice, really, and you know, you can get disappointed with games, and I'm a little bit disappointed that Slash and Spells hasn't got its Mexican shipping to something interesting. I mean, come on, I mean, if you're based in the US, you just ship it to yourself and then you ship it to Mexico. I mean, is it that difficult to get the shipping down? What's expensive? $80, by the way, $80. So the shipping's at the same price as the game. It's not ideal at this stage, but hey, that's Slash and Spells. Please check it out on our Kickstarter page, which is Kickstarter Radio 102.4, of course. If you're on the podcast, you'll find the link of that down in the podcast notes and all that good stuff. Next, we'll be talking about Moonfall, the movie. It's a massive Hollywood blockbuster popcorn film that should really have come out in the summer, but it came out recently, which is a bit of a head scratcher. But anyhow, Moonfall, we're talking about that next. Now, we're going to listen to my favourite song from the Eurovision, which is Jamala from the Ukraine, with an anti-war song, 1944. And you'll notice this is the second song from the Ukraine. I love the Eurovision songs from the Ukraine. In fact, I could do a whole special on the best top 10 Eurovision songs from the Ukraine. Just all be blockbusters, but it's really sad with the war in the Ukraine. And again, my heart goes out to everybody out there that's still in the country, that still needs to get out of there. I mean, it's desperate stuff. But what do you think about the war? What's gonna happen? Because I think that the Russians, that have got an infinite amount of soldiers, you know, if they conscript, they can get 3 to 6 million conscripts in a whisper. So I think the rebalancing going towards the west, they're going to they're going to landlock Crimea to Russia, then they're going to lock the Black Sea from the Ukraine, and then they're going to take the east coast to stop any weapons coming into the country, and then they will encircle Kiev finally for the last stage of the war, which will be a siege on Kiev. Kiev is, by the way, considered a gem in the Roman Empire. That's why it's the only city not been shelled. Maybe outside of the city, the towns and stuff, but the city itself has been untouched because that needs to remain perfect for the Russian Empire, which is what, potentially Putin's gunning for. That's my prediction. I don't know what you think. I'd love to know if you have been following the war in Russia. It's a bit odd to be talking about it on a board game podcast, but it is something that I'm into at the minute. It's fascinating. And a lot of the stories coming from there give you kind of a window of what World War II would have been like. But pretty nasty stories coming from there, but it all is fascinating all the same. Alright, here we go. 1944 from Jamala. Whew! One thing left to talk about. Moonfall. Dun, 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 dun. I was so looking forward to this. Mark Commode from the UK said it was the most stupid film he's ever seen, but because of that reason, he loved it. And it stars Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson, and also John Bradley. I'll give him a shout because he is kind of an important character. Mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit, and the orbit of the moon's getting closer to Earth, so the tides go crazy. You've got tsunamis moving everywhere, and it's amazing, the special effects. Really, really is. I think, as disaster movies go, there's none bigger than this. They really have notched it up. Can they get disaster movies bigger than this one? I don't know. But the Earth certainly is at risk for blowing up. Absolutely. Anyway, it's I think it's a nice story. If you like sci-fi, you're into kind of your SpaceX NASA stuff, I think you'll appreciate the space stuff that's going on. It's like a alt history 1980, how it begins. And it's really, really good in this sci-fi pornography of, space tech of NASA. There's a few nods for SpaceX in there, which I really appreciate, but it's a really good disaster movie, and I think you'll appreciate the end of it, and the director, Roland Emmerich, the godfather of disaster movies from Hollywood. He really wants to do a sequel, which he wants to film back to back, so it would be a part 1, part 2 of a sequel. That looks really good because it will have to leave Earth, I think, for the sequel in this sci-fi feel. That could be really good, and it really would be a great sci-fi. They want the film to be successful, though, and it's a case of you brought it out at the wrong time. Everyone expects blockbusters in the summer, where you go popcorn. You go deliberately for the big blockbusters in the summer, and to bring it out in February and March here for Mexico. And April, is it just launched in China? Really strange cadence for this movie. But if you get a chance to watch it, I think you will love the spectacle on offer here. And the characters, Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, they are fantastic, and I'd love to see them in the sequel for this. I think it would be absolutely phenomenal, peeps. Oh my god, so good. I'm hopefully going to watch the Halo stuff on Netflix this week. Scratch my head, question mark. Have you been watching Halo? And I've been deliberately not watching, what's his face? Star Trek Picard Season 2, because I'm just going to wait for it to finish and then just binge watch it. That's my plan. Anyway, secret song at the end that I didn't introduce at the beginning. What is it? Well, I'm going to pull one from this year, actually. It's my early favourite of the whole show out of 40 songs. It's from France. It's a trance song from France. It's called Alvin and Ahes by Fulrin. I'm so confused by the band name and the song name. If you like dance music, this is bloody fantastic, so crank up your bass for this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching broadcast number 15, the Kickstarter Radio podcast, which we try to do every Sunday. If you are new to the show, please think about visiting our YouTube channel and subscribing. And if you're already a subscriber or you're a fan of the podcast, please get the word out. Tell your board game friends that, like board gaming and Kickstarter and all that stuff. Because this is kind of an entertainment show with the music, isn't it? And all that stuff. Love to know what you think of the show also. If you want to get any questions on the show, I will do a Q&A. You can simply just, write a message on the podcast or in the video description of the podcast or on YouTube. Just put hashtag broadcast and I'll know it's a question for the show. Alright peeps, thank you so much for watching or listening on the podcast. We will be back here next week. I'm expecting Kickstarter to blow up with an amazing game from Lucky Duck Gaming, which have joined, they've done a partnership with the people from the detective game. What am I talking about? You'll find out next week on the show. It's going to be Kickstarter of the week, potentially, because it looks incredible. Evan Derrick, the designer. Oh my god, that's looking so good. Anyway, peeps, thank you for watching, listening. I've been your host, Lipstickpaddy. This has been Kickstarter Radio 102.4 with our radio podcast, broadcast number 15. You take care, stay safe, and bye-bye for now. Turn up the bass. Here comes a bleeding trance from France.